The night of November 8, 2010, began with screams echoing through a quiet suburban home in Markham, Canada. Blood pooled on the kitchen floor. A mother lay dead. A father feigned death. And a 24-year-old daughter dialed 911 with trembling hands, her voice cracking as she sobbed, "They shot my parents." But as police would soon discover, the real monster wasn't the intruders in black masks. It was the perfect daughter herself, Jennifer Pan, whose web of lies unraveled into a plot more twisted than fiction. This is the story of how ambition, shame, and a lifetime of secrets led to the unthinkable, a child orchestrating her parents' murder. Jennifer Pan's life was a masterpiece of deception, brushstrokes of lies layered over a canvas of desperation. To her Vietnamese immigrant parents, Han and Beach Pan, she was the golden child, a straight-A student, a piano prodigy, a future doctor whose acceptance into the University of Toronto's pharmacology program was the crowning jewel of their sacrifices. They'd fled post-war Vietnam with nothing, working double shifts at factory jobs to give their daughter a Canadian dream they could never afford for themselves. But behind the trophies lining the living room wall and the smiling family photos, Jennifer harboured a secret. None of it was real. By 19, she'd failed out of high school, forging report cards with the precision of a counterfeiter. For 5 years, she spun tales of university classes, lab partners, and exams, while secretly spending her days watching movies with her boyfriend, Daniel Wong, a high school dropout with a criminal past her parents forbade her to see. When they discovered the truth, ripping open a mailed college rejection letter she'd hidden, their rage was volcanic. They smashed her phone, banned her from seeing Daniel, and demanded she work at their factory, a humiliation that seared Jennifer's pride. "You're dead to us," her mother hissed, unaware of the prophecy in her words. Psychologists would later dissect Jennifer's psyche, a narcissist moulded by years of parental pressure, her identity so entwined with the perfect daughter lie that its collapse felt like annihilation. She couldn't bear to be ordinary. So she began plotting not just to escape her parents, but to erase them. The plan unfolded like a poorly written thriller. Jennifer reached out to Daniel, her Romeo in baggy jeans and a sly grin, who introduced her to Lenford Crawford, a hulking ex-con with a lazy eye and a rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt. In shadowy parking lots and hushed phone calls, they bartered murder for $10,000, the price of Jennifer's freedom. "Just make it look like a robbery," she insisted, her voice steady as a surgeon's hand. "They keep cash in the house." But Crawford, ever the pragmatist, brought a .32 revolver. "No witnesses," he growled. On the night of the attack, Jennifer's performance deserved an Oscar. She texted Crawford, "They're home, do it now," then dimmed the lights, her heart a jackhammer as she waited. At 10:53 p.m., the door crashed open. 3 masked men stormed in, their boots thudding like funeral drums. Bitch Pan screamed, lunging at the intruders with the ferocity of a mother wolf. A gunshot exploded and she crumpled, her blood seeping into the beige carpet. Han, playing dead, listened in horror as Jennifer's voice cut through the chaos. "Why isn't she dead yet?" The words, cold and clinical, shattered his soul. When police arrived, Jennifer was a portrait of grief, trembling, tear-streaked, her hands clutching a blanket as she recounted the robbers. But detectives noted oddities: the untouched jewelry box, her delayed 911 call, the scripted way she described events. She kept saying, "They wore black," over and over, one officer muttered, like she was reciting lines. The unravelling began with a text. On Jennifer's phone, buried beneath deleted messages, police found a chilling exchange. "I need this done before Christmas. Can you promise?" Crawford's reply, "They'll be gone." Confronted, Jennifer's tears dried like rain in a desert. It was Daniel's idea, she spat, her doe-eyed innocence replaced by the snarl of a cornered animal. At trial, the courtroom became a theatre of the grotesque. Han, his face a roadmap of grief, testified how he'd heard Jennifer demand his wife's death. "My daughter, she became a ghost," he whispered. Daniel, flipping on Jennifer for a lighter sentence, painted her as a puppeteer. "She said if her parents were gone, we could be together. She promised me money." Prosecutors dissected Jennifer's psyche, a narcissist who saw her parents as obstacles to her fairy tale ending. Her defense countered with tiger parenting gone rogue, a girl broken by impossible expectations. "You created this monster," her lawyer thundered at Han, who sat motionless, tears carving silent rivers down his cheeks. The jury deliberated for 10 days. When the verdict came, guilty of first-degree murder, Jennifer didn't flinch. She stared ahead, her face a porcelain mask, as Han whispered, "You killed your mother, but you died that night too." Today, Jennifer Pan rots in a Canadian prison, her only companions the ghosts of her lies. She writes poetry, claims innocence in scribbled letters, and tells new inmates, "I'm not the monster they say I am." But in Markham, the Pan home stands empty, a shrine to shattered dreams. Han, now a shell of a man, visits Bitch's grave weekly, placing fresh orchids beside her headstone. "I forgave her," he tells the wind, "but I will never understand." The case rippled beyond true crime forums, igniting debates about immigrant guilt and the cost of perfection. Jennifer's not a psychopath, argues Dr. Lydia Lee, a psychologist specializing in Asian American trauma. She's a byproduct of a culture where failure is spiritual death. Others aren't so generous. "Evil is a choice," snaps a retired detective. She chose to pull the trigger, even if her hands weren't on the gun. Jennifer Pan's story lingers like a poison, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths. How far would you go to escape shame? Can love curdle into hatred so thick it stains the soul? And in the end, was Jennifer a master manipulator, or a girl so shattered by lies that she forgot which version of herself was real? The answer, like the woman herself, remains trapped in shadows.